Jenita Pace, and I am a therapist in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Most of my clients are teenagers, and I am also the mother of 2 teen boys, and have found it to be one of the most scary paths I've had to walk because I want to do it so well. And so the theme being going from fear-based parenting to faith-based parenting, which is really hard to do. And this is my son, Carter.
Hey guys.
He is a senior this year. And so Carter has been such a great sport because he doesn't really know what questions I'm going to ask him. This is all on the fly.
Yeah.
So he's so brave. But I didn't want him to, I wanted you to have a chance to speak whatever comes to your mind and from your heart. And so the topic we're going to cover now is faith. Because I feel that the heavy burden that I feel in order to help you and your brother come to know the Lord and to follow Jesus. I mean, I think that that's just been the weightiest part of parenting, and also for me, the scariest, because I want you and your brother Matthew to choose to follow God. And so I was wondering if you could give some feedback, because you have chosen to follow the Lord. But again, I think a lot of it has to do with you making that choice. Mm-hmm. And so first of all, maybe you could, for parents and mentors and counselors, pastors that are watching, what was it about, your faith journey where, what made you decide to follow Jesus?
Yeah, well, I've kind of had a crazy life in that sense, because just coming from I moved to Minnesota when I was 12 from North Carolina, so everything here was totally new to me. And I was going through a lot at that time, and I guess I just really did see miracles happen in my life where Jesus was just totally in control. So I was blessed with that at a young age. I think maybe more than most kids, but there does come to a choice you have to make where you're choosing kind of where your path is going to take you in life. And I think that a few that really happened was and looking back on it now, my parents always had a say in it, but they were giving me the choice. So what I mean is, when we first moved here, I remember my first day at church, and you had connected with another mom about meeting their son so that I could start off with somebody to know. And that was huge, because then I already had a first step in church. And I wasn't exactly close with the Lord. I didn't really know him at the time, because I was still young-minded and innocent. And I just started going to youth group, and I met friends, and I just started giving myself the choice that I wanted to keep coming back and experience it. And then not so long ago, there was a Christian club at my school. And I remember it was freshman orientation day, and there's all these booths set up around the school. And I remember we walked by the Faith Club one, and I remember you saying hey, that sounds kind of cool. Would you ever think about that? And I kind of remember being so out of it, because there's just so much going on around me, and I'm scared to death because I want to make a good impression on everybody on my first day. But just that little encouragement, it was just oh yeah, I guess I'd be interested in it. And I gave it a shot, and I didn't really go. I went 3 times that whole year, but I guess I just felt the calling to go back to that, because it's so encouraging to be in a place where you're refilling your spiritual battery on the weekly. And I now realize how important that is for me, because without that, the week just gets really strenuous and hard, and I see that in myself. And also, it's so important to get in the Word, and I struggle with this every single day. It's always a battle for me, just to try to fill myself with the Word. But having a parent to encourage me to do that is super important. But also making sure that the parent's not forcing me to read the Bible, because that pushes me farther away from it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that's where the faith versus fear comes in, because I remember going to the high school and walking around with you and seeing the faith-based clubs, and really hoping that you would join them, but knowing that I wanted you to choose if you were going to go. And I remember that night because I could tell that you were not, it was interesting, but like you said, you only went 3 times that year. And I remember privately just praying that that would be something you would get interested in. But I do agree with you that I think if it's forced, then it's not really in the heart of the teen, it's in the heart of the parent. I think that that's something I've seen too, just in talking to other parents. And would you agree with that?
Yeah, encouragement's huge for me personally. I really like when y'all just encourage me to, get in the Bible, and maybe we do like a family devotion once a week even is just encouraging enough, because maybe the kid will get something out of that devotion that they see more than anybody else in that house, but just that little bit of encouragement, maybe weekly, is just can really be powerful in the end, especially for me. But family devotion time can be, I like it, but it also can be kind of I'd prefer to be on the phone with my friends right now. So maybe sometimes I don't totally want to do it.
Right. And maybe sometimes I totally don't want to do it.
There's just more fun things to do.
Right.
But having examples in your life and having encouragement, self-motivation is just all huge.
Having it come from in you, not from being forced.
Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned, one thing I just picked up on was the relationships with the other kids was huge. So it sounds like what you're saying is that for kids to be motivated to get involved in a faith club or a youth group, part of it is knowing other kids.
Yeah.
Or having connections with kids.
Yeah. I've been blessed to have a lot of leaders in my life through school or through church to help me along my journey. And a lot of the kids feel like there's nobody out there for them, or maybe they're struggling so much and they're going through addiction or whatever it is that God's just turning his back on them. But it's not true at all. That's what's so hard about it, is there's so many kids nowadays struggling and they feel like they can't be loved by God, but He's always willing there to be for everyone. He's always there for everybody, no matter what you've done in life. And I have a friend that feels like she's just done so much wrong in life that God's just never gonna love her, and it's the saddest thing, because it's not true. God gives us these opportunities in life because He's always there for us, and whether it's through church or maybe just talking to somebody at the most random thing, even a family thing. We were literally at a restaurant, and I was just kind of going through hard times, and God put somebody there, the waiter, to just talk to me about life, and God does that, and it's hard to see it sometimes, often, because God isn't something we can't just put God in a test tube and show Him to everybody physically. That's what's hard about believing in God, is we can't visually see Him, but He's there. I see Him through miracles constantly, and through the love of my friends and parents, and so.
I think that's great. I love how, you said through the love of your family and your friends, because I have met parents that just in their panic to get their kids to believe in God, they're forcing them to go to church, forcing them to read the Bible, forcing them to go to clubs in hopes that will just kind of trigger a desire within them to know God. And it sounds like it's a really tricky balance. It's a lot of prayer for kids, a lot of prayer that they will have it inside of them. It sounds like what you're saying. And I think it's great that when you had, you and your brother watching you guys kind of work through your faith and having the patience to let you guys walk that journey, it's really hard. It doesn't come natural. But I can see how God does that for us, where He doesn't force us to follow Him, that He gives us the freedom to choose. But it is scary. Yeah.
One thing that I was thinking about in my life is, there's a lot of things I'm thinking about right now, actually, but one of the main ones is how when I fall short, which happens to everyone of God, I guess I start to realize that I'm just kind of like fading away slowly from like reading the Bible or, you know, getting into worship or whatever it is. But like at some point, I'm probably just asking my parents like a little question that maybe like I'm thinking about deeper. But when I ask y'all, like y'all's response is huge, depending on what you say, you know. Because I feel like a lot of kids are curious to know more about the Bible or whatever it is, and like having a change in your faith could be any time in your life. Like some kids it's later than a lot, and some kids it's really early. For me, it's just a continuing process every day. But having a parent that is always there for you, but slow to speak and responds to you with generosity and care and love is huge. And I think those are just really hard milestones in my life that have affected me a lot. Just having talks with you or Dad every now and then, you know, just it's kind of like a refresh, like, oh, like, you know, this is, you know, I need to start doing this more and self-encouragement. But we can't get through life without other people, you know?
Yeah, and well, that's the great point. That I mean, anybody who has a teen, I think should be in counseling. I had to see counselors too, learn as we go, right? So, well, thank you. You did great. Again, popping questions on you without any warning.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, hopefully that went well.